Well, you've sailed the high seas with her in Pirates of the Caribbean and loved along with her in Love Actually. Now, Keira Knightley is taking on a different kind of role in the new film, A Dangerous Method. And she joins us live this morning on The Road Show. Good morning, Keira.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Now, this movie deals with a character that many of us are familiar with. We're talking about Freud, but it's not your typical film. So tell us about the premise of the movie.
The premise of the film is basically about the relationship between Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, and about the patient that brought them together. So I play the patient, who was a woman called Sabine Spielrein, who was admitted to the hospital that Carl Jung was working at, suffering from what was then called hysteria, and Jung decided to try Freud's method on her to see if that worked as a cure, and it was the first time that Freud's method had been tried clinically. So the story is all sort of based around that.
So not so much like your family movies that you've done before. So tell us about the themes that this film explores.
Well, I think it explores jealousy, it explores hysteria, it explores psychoanalysis, it explores love, it explores lots of different themes. It's definitely not a family movie, you know. I mean, I'm not quite sure what the rating is actually, but it's definitely not a Pirates of the Caribbean or a Love Actually. But it was something that I just thought was completely fascinating. You know, I knew nothing really about Freud and Jung. I'd sort of obviously heard of them, but not really read any of their work, or kind of didn't really know much about it. And I was totally fascinated when I read the script. I just thought it was an extraordinary story, all based on true events, about the relationship between these kind of two huge minds of the 20th century, and two people that came up with ideas that sort of completely changed the way that we think about ourselves and each other. So they created what was in some ways a kind of revolution, and so that's what the story's about, and about this extraordinary woman who was sort of the catalyst in their relationship.
So how do you feel about your role? Of course, you're playing a patient. This is unlike any role that you've really taken on in the past. Do you enjoy playing this character?
Definitely, you know, I mean, I think one of the things that I love about my job the most is the challenge. You know, I love being able to play completely different things, and the opportunity to be in films like Pirates and like Love Actually that are really fun, and then doing something more like the films that I did, like Atonement or Pride and Prejudice, which is again something different, and then this is again something totally different. You know, it was a subject, like I said before, that I knew anything about, and the character that I play is a very difficult one. You know, she was suffering from various kind of neuroses and psychosis that I didn't know anything about, and I've certainly had no experience of. So it was a really interesting process trying to understand what that was and trying to portray them.
All right, well, Keira, we know you're very talented. We wish you the best with this new movie, and thanks so much for joining us. For more information on where you can see A Dangerous Method, head to WPRI.com.